$100,000. These 5 finalists that you will see are part of an elite group of businesses that have been identified by economic leaders from around the state. And I urge you to look at the businesses highlighted on flyers on your tables. These innovative entrepreneurs are creating jobs, they're winning awards, and they're showing our youth that you can have a successful business and still call the Mountain State your home. So, as you can imagine, our judges have their work cut out for them. We have, as judges, Michelle O'Connor. Michelle serves as the director of Innova Commercialization, an initiative spearheaded by the High Technology Foundation, dedicated to fostering entrepreneurial successes and launching new ventures. Innova Commercialization stands at the forefront of business support services and seed and early stage investment capital programs. We also have Dr. Carrie White. Dr. White is the co-founder of Entrepreneurship Ecosystem Experts, an ecosystem consulting company identifying early-stage entrepreneurs and connecting them with resource providers in the West Virginia entrepreneurship ecosystem. Carrie helps to provide resources and networking support for those engaged in idea generation and development right through the commercialization process. And we have President Brad D. Smith. President Smith serves as the 38th president of Marshall University, a position he assumed in January 22. He's the first alumnus in the university's 186-year history to serve as its president. Brad is also the co-founder of the Wing to Wing Foundation, which he co-founded with his wife, Elise. The foundation provides increased access and support for education, entrepreneurship, and the environment, with the goal of unlocking economic and lifestyle prosperity for West Virginia and beyond. And our final judge is Jorge Atiles. Dr. Atiles is Dean of Extension and Engagement. He is also responsible for WVU Extension across all of West Virginia's 55 counties. He oversees other units, including the Fire Service Extension, WVU Safety and Health Extension, the WVU Center for Community Engagement, and Dean Atiles also led the university in gaining its Association of Public and Land Grant Universities, its Innovation and Economic Prosperity designation. So let's go to the rules. Each business is going to have 5 minutes to present. Our judges will have 5 minutes for Q&A. A gentle reminder for you out there, only the judges are allowed to ask questions. So let's get on with the show. Our first team pitching today is Mountain Steer.
Second, yeah. We got a countdown.
Do we get a countdown?
Yeah, we do.
Oh. Hi, I'm James Tuckwiller.
This isn't working. Sorry about that. I'm Frank Ford, by the way.
You said hit the green button, right? Someone sabotaged.
All right, we'll try her again. There we go. All right, we'll get another countdown.
Okay. Hi, I'm James Tuckwiller.
And I'm Frank Ford, and we are Mountain Steer Meat Company, and we know beef.
Frank and I are 5th and 8th generation ranchers, and this is what we do. We support local ranchers, we buy the highest quality beef, and we help educate the youth in agriculture. Mountain Steer Meat Company, once procuring the locally raised high quality beef, takes that product back to our processing facility for further production. We produce it into burger, steaks, roasts. Once that is done, we then distribute it to school systems, local restaurants, through our retail space, and through e-commerce.
We maintain our level of excellence by using traditional methods with modernized technology. We dry age all of our beef, which results in a much more tender and flavorful cut of beef. We also work with the USDA American Marketing Service with camera grading. This allows us to officially market the high caliber of beef that we do purchase and process. In 2022, they invited us to be a part of their pilot program out of 10 processing plants across the country. This pilot program in 2023 was then released to the public, and we led that charge. We also use carcass ultrasound. We do this to ensure that each calf that we process and purchase meets our high standards of carcass genetics. We sell beef through e-commerce. This not only brings in dollars out of state to West Virginia, but it also allows us to showcase what West Virginia can provide. We also we open the bottleneck with custom processing. Custom processing is a dying service in West Virginia. With the addition of the abattoir, which we'll touch here in a second, we're able to offer that service. It also adds a new customer market, and it allows us to diversify our revenue stream that's already pretty vast. In 2023, we purchased a little over $500,000 in locally raised cattle. Those dollars went straight to the farmer's pocket. We also supplied 225,000 student lunches in West Virginia. We made a little over $100,000 in net profit, and we created 5 new jobs in Greenbrier County. With the $100,000, we're able to increase our cattle procurement by 71%, resulting in $933,000 going to those farmers' pockets. We're also increasing our student lunches to $315,000, drastically increasing our net profits to a little under $700,000 and creating 3 extra jobs in our home county.
As you can see, in 2020, when we first started, we started out with just 2 clients. Currently in 2024, we have over 26 clients, and they don't all fit on that page.
Those 26 accounts were using these 4 companies before we stepped in. These 4 companies control over 80% of our nation's beef supply, but COVID shined a light on how fragile that can be. Because these plants were shutting down through COVID, it actually allowed Mountain Steer to start in 2020. These companies only care about quantity. They try to push out as much as possible, which they don't worry about quality. Excuse me. No one cares more about cattle and beef more than cattlemen, and we are cattlemen. The $100,000 will be used to construct an abattoir or a harvest facility attached to our existing processing plant. This timeline is roughly 3 to 4 months, and once the build is complete, we immediately benefit from the build completion. It allows us to be a vertically integrated company. At that point, we have full control from start to finish and everything in between. This investment is also self-sustaining with no additional funding needed. It would be an investment into a permanent brick and mortar.
As you can see, our project is shovel-ready. We have the contractors, we have electricians, we have all the license we need. We just need the funding. Let us help strike while iron's hot.
The abattoir not only directly benefits our company, it directly benefits West Virginia ranchers, West Virginia schools, and West Virginia businesses. We plan to grab the bull by the horns and become the future of the West Virginia beef industry. Thank you guys for the opportunity. Oh, wow.
Judges, you now have 5 minutes for questions. First of all, technology.
You want my mic?
No, there we go. Got it now. It just takes a second to warm up. This is like the old television I grew up with. Hey, first of all, great job, great presentation, very impressive. You went through a list of potential channels that you sell through. What is the primary channel where you get most new customers to scale from 2 to 26?
A majority of our customers are school systems. I'd say 60% of our 26 accounts are county schools. We supply not just one school, but it's actually the whole entire county. We're up to about 8. I'd say next is restaurants. We have a lot of local restaurants in our area that like to work with us. We're also branching out to Tamarack, the Boy Scout camp up here at the Summit Betchel Reserve, and many more. So we have a lot of plans to expand those too. The remaining are our retail shop, which brought in roughly $200,000 last year, our first year of brick and mortar. And we also have a plan put in place now. We're just waiting on it to kind of develop with a more in-depth marketing campaign for our website.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Nice presentation, you guys.
Thank you, ma'am.
We'll pretend like I don't know anything about your industry. And can you explain briefly what an abattoir is?
So you can go for that.
Yeah.
Matt.
So briefly, an abattoir is a harvesting facility. So we bring the cattle in live, and then it happens, and then the cattle is in a carcass form for processing.
Okay, and my second question is, what are the threats to your industry right now?
I would say the willingness to pay for higher priced beef when the market goes up. Beef is a commonly eaten protein, so I don't think the interest is going to go away, but the cost of that beef, I would say, is our biggest threat. Right now, cattle prices are the highest in history ever of the cattle market. We've been working through that with, because our target customer cares more about the quality of their food, more so than the dollar figure added to that. It's allowed us to thrive even through this crazy cattle market. And on your, to better explain what an abattoir is, it's French for slaughterhouse. So it sounds a little bit kinder than that word. So the process from live calf to carcass, what happens in the middle, as I'm sure you all can understand, that's what we do in that abattoir.
Good presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Given how much you plan to increase with this investment, do you have any issues of being able to source feedstock?
I'm really glad you asked that question. Greenbrier County has the highest population of beef cattle in the entire state. We are surrounded around generational farmers, including ourselves, that with this high-priced market, out west in the Midwest, they decided to sell a lot of their females, so the supply went down. In our area, we're not looking to make a dollar on a crazy high market. We're in this for the long game. So there are, I want to say it's 36,000 head just in Greenbrier County. So cattle is flush, and inventory will never be an issue.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, guys. You did a very good job. And most of the questions I had have been answered. So I'm going to make up a new one.
Good, we'll answer it.
So this is, let's say you got the 100,000, you got that one-time investment to get that harvesting abattoir
Yes,
ready.
sir.
What is your next investment?
I would say our next investment is into feedlots. As we grow, we want to take somewhat control over the cattle that do come through. We are actually relying on, I want to say it's 4 to 5, depending, cattle ranches around our plant to supply us with cattle now. Eventually, we want to kind of dive into the carcass genetics and high marbling, high intramuscular fat by breeding the highest marbled bull with the highest marbled cow. We want to dive into that. I would say that is one of our future investments. The second investment I would say is into people. As we grow, we will need to hire more employees eventually. So I think our investment into those skilled employees will be really beneficial to our growth.
Do I have time for one? Okay. So you mentioned that the USDA partnered with you on the graphing and the mapping. How were you guys chosen out of all of the places in the U.S.?
It's a really funny story. I'll try to be quick. So I found out about camera grading online. We were looking into, I called a bunch of people. Yeah.
Next up is Stone Tower Coffee.
Oh, where's that at?
This July makes a decade since the doors first opened at our first cafe in downtown Fairmont, known as the Joe. On a shoestring budget, we transformed a dilapidated little building into a community hub using a back porch roaster and some passion. Since then, we've developed our brand, Stone Tower Brews, and launched 3 additional stores, bringing a love for transformation with us to new places in West Virginia. Throughout this process, we've created 100 jobs, launched an app, and made friends with local breweries, all while supplying wholesale accounts across the state. We provide the caffeine to get through the day, pour the pints to share with good friends, and we also curate the third space used by students and professionals to work. We believe in community over competition, that collabing with local artists and other small businesses helps everyone, and that a thriving community is one that shares its successes.
In the heart of downtown Fairmont lies an unassuming little building that serves as a powerhouse for all of our coffee operations. It's an 800 square foot car garage turned roastery where we roast, hand package, and deliver over 1,000 pounds of coffee per week. Every day feels like Christmas in this space. From the overabundance of packing supplies to the random items strewn about the floor, walking through the space on a hectic day often feels reminiscent to an episode of the TV show Hoarders. This space here is extremely small, so we're unable to fit everything in that we need to. So we have to use off-site climate-controlled storage in order to house these items. Traveling back and forth creates wasted time, which is difficult for us on a day-to-day basis. The place is uninviting here for the public and unproductive for employee trainings, so we're unable to utilize it in the ways that we'd like. Also, we only have 1 production roaster, which means 1 single point of failure for the entire company. And until that's resolved, there's always a possibility that roasting operations could go down completely.
Luckily, our solution isn't far away, and it brings us back to our roots. The revitalization of a historic building. Less than a block away from our current roastery sits the Firehouse. It was built in 1912, and it served the city in many ways, but now it's vacant, waiting for its next chapter. With each floor, we have a dream and a plan to solve our current issues, push us into the future, and tie us into the community in new ways.
Let me paint you a picture. The first floor of the Firehouse there now runs as our new state-of-the-art coffee roastery space. The doors are open, welcoming in the community to be a part of the experience. This is why we do what we do. The first and second floors are buzzing now that community operations such as Main Street Fairmont and the West Virginia Land Stewardship Corporation work together to revitalize the economy both on a local and state level. Additionally, on the second floor, we will bring something to the state that doesn't exist at all. That is a state-of-the-art coffee roasting training lab. This training lab will serve us to be able to bring our coffee teachings to our highest degree to anybody who's interested. And that will be from origin to roasting to the final nuances of the cup profile.
Our current timeline has us launching these projects by summer 2026. We also don't want to be short-sighted with our vision for the Firehouse. Our 5-year plan is to transform the top floor into a high-end restaurant with a rooftop bar overlooking the city's $1 million bridge.
As with any old building, the Firehouse comes with its own hurdles. Being built in 1912, it contains asbestos and lead that need to be addressed. The city of Fairmont currently owns the building, but because they created the contamination, they're ineligible for grant funding for the abatement. That's where our relationship with the West Virginia Land Stewardship Corporation comes into play. They serve as a statewide land bank that the city of Fairmont can transfer the property to. Once it's in their possession, we can get to work securing a $500,000 EPA brownfield cleanup grant. It's worth noting that up until this point, they have a 100% success rate in obtaining those grants. Once that's done, once the cleanup is complete, we'll get to work bringing funding together, hopefully from the foundation, from the Invitational, as well as our own equity and different West Virginia programs like the Capital Access Program and Economic Development Authority programs.
But wait, there's more.
So you might think, if we're moving the roastery up to this space, what's going to happen with that other building? It's just going to be another empty building in downtown Fairmont. Well, as soon as that happens, we begin the build out of a 2-barrel brew house and the newest brand in our operations, Stone Tower Brew Lab, adding revenue to our top line, adding jobs in brewing, distribution, and taproom operations, and really just making us more vertical all around. This whole competition has lit a fire under this project for us, and $100,000 from the Hayhurst Invitational would become the catalyst to make everything happen.
Just a little bit. Too close. Just a little bit over.
Judges, your 5 minutes for questions begins now.
Oh, they want me to start. So thank you and congratulations for having big dreams. This is really exciting. You are in a great location there with great potential, and you're really aspiring for a lot, which is great because we need to be able to believe that we can, reach the peak of our mountains. I'm curious as to how are you projecting your potential revenue to be able to take care of the expenses that will undoubtedly be there. You do get the money, right, from EPA, let's say, you are able to abate, and then you have to rebuild, you have to remodel, you have to establish, and also pay whatever rent you're gonna be paying, all of that. So tell me a little bit about your thought process there.
Right. So one of the reasons that we are even looking for a new roastery space is because, as Tyler mentioned, that roastery is just so small. We currently have 4 locations across north central West Virginia, and we've been reached out to from people in Beckley, Huntington, the other side of Morgantown, even clear up into Washington, PA, and we would love to expand. Problem is, if we do it now, we're just going to collapse our support system. So really, the building out of the roastery and the firehouse is more of building up that support level so that everything else can succeed above it. And so the revenues from the stores, each store that we open adds about 20 jobs. It also adds about $150,000 a year in revenue up to the parent company and coffee sales, and then on top of that, management fees and everything else.
Good job. So as you look to work with the City of Fairmont and the Land Trust to rebuild out the firehouse, is there any other conversations, because any of us who have been to the Feast of the Seven Fishes knows that that's a street in Fairmont that needs a lot of love. What else is going on? What other conversations are you having so that that impact is significant?
Oh, I love this question. So on top of just being a downtown Fairmont business owner, I also sit on the board for Main Street Fairmont. And so that downtown revitalization is a thing that we are passionate about. And so on the street where the firehouse sits, the city planner is currently working on a streetscape program. Next to it is an old building that burned down probably about 8 years ago, but it's still got a big, beautiful facade hanging in there. And so the city is actually right now reviewing the contract to go in and clean that up, support the facade, and create a public space there where people can just come and hang out. And then we would kind of help maintain control over that space. And then even further down, the city is currently working on a green space program to essentially put in kind of a pavilion where we can facilitate markets and things like that better. So, thank you.
Yeah, great job, you guys. It sounds like you have a lot of different potential funding sources, which is good because it's a big project. How will you utilize the $100,000 and how will you best capitalize on that?
Right. So the first way the $100,000 gets used is to make us even more competitive for that grant, right? When we go to the EPA, we want to be able to say, hey, we want this $500,000, but also, hey, we've got $100,000 from this lined up, plus our own equity, plus we've worked with West Virginia Capital to develop a plan, and then our bank has already signed off, and we've got these plans, and we've got the financing already in line, we're ready. Second way is once the remediation is done, then we actually begin the build out of the roasting space. So the actual warehouse area is probably most directly where that money will go.
Incredible, bold vision, revitalization, purpose and community driven, clear revenue streams. Where do you have your least amount of confidence? What's the thing that keeps you awake at night?
The
Well,
caffeine.
For the last month, it's been
definitely.
this. Shoot, that's a good question. Nobody else has been asked one that tough. What keeps me up at night is just making sure that the people that work for us have a steady job that is meaningful and that they are valued. That is my biggest concern. And so we could easily be more profitable, but it would come at the sacrifice of the people that I'm not willing to sacrifice. So that's what keeps me up at night, is I don't have kids, I have 100 employees that I have to worry about.
10 seconds or so. Anyone wants a quick question? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next up is Lost Creek Farm.
Let's see here. Where's the arrow? There's no arrow. No cursor from the pad.
Yeah, it went off the screen there.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll let you.
Hello, I'm Mike Costello. I'm a chef and a farmer at Lost Creek Farm in Harrison County. With my partner, Amy, we've built a world-class dining destination, and we are redefining Appalachian food. Our on-farm experiences are incredibly popular, and we have momentum, but we need to expand our facilities in order to grow, and 100,000 would let us grow immediately. When we moved to the farm, we didn't have much money, but we had a vision. And we were rich in seeds and recipes and knowledge from our families. And that was enough to build a destination for our own food heritage. So a couple nights a week, dozens of guests come to our farmhouse for Amy's cornbread and Aunt Flota's dumplings and those heirloom tomatoes right from our garden. But what really brings people to Lost Creek Farm and what keeps people coming back is the story of what this food means to the people of this place. And in every single dish, I will tell you something meaningful, maybe about those communion wafers my grandma used to make by hand, or maybe about this red corn from a farmer right over that mountain. In the many hands that pass down this cuisine to us, there are infinite stories that make us proud as West Virginians and make us marketable as a business. And Amy and I both grew up watching Appalachian poverty be stigmatized and stereotyped by stories that came from somewhere else. And since food can reflect our economic status, we've lost a lot of food traditions as a result. Now, before we started this business, we had a rather eye-opening experience when we went to Spain and we saw people were stoked about saltfish and smoked sausage and the jamon that reminded us of Amy's mom's country ham. The very same dishes that West Virginians were running from were a marketable source of national pride. The only difference between pride and shame in that food was the story being told and what it represented. So as entrepreneurs, we said what would happen if we built a business here around a new, a different, a more empowering story of West Virginia food. And our idea kind of took off. It was novel, and it got immediate national traction. We launched in 2016, and by 2017, Anthony Bourdain was sitting in our front yard. Every bit of national attention we get sparks local pride in our food heritage and brings attention to Lost Creek Farm as a visit-worthy destination. Last year, our entire season sold out in 15 minutes. This year, 12 minutes. Last year, we had people come from 39 different states and several countries. And these weren't folks passing through Lost Creek. No, they bought their tickets early and they planned entire West Virginia vacations around this very experience. So it's good. We're putting tourism dollars into the economy. We're supporting local farmers, but we cannot keep up with demand because we have limited seating capacity. And without a commercial kitchen on the farm, we have to drive every single day to an off-site rental kitchen that's 30 minutes away. But we have a plan to grow. We're going to expand our kitchen, get it certified. We're going to double the amount of seats we can fill each night. And with a modest expansion to our farmhouse, we're going to increase revenue, increase profit, and lower our cost of goods sold because it makes us more efficient and it cuts down on our travel time, giving us more time to do more business. Now, we're going to grow by adding more events, by hosting more events more often, and adding new products, profitable products like weddings and corporate retreats to get us started. And that growth means stability for the dozens of local farmers we support. It means new staff, including our first ever full-time employees. And this is not some wishful speculation. This right here is business we have to turn down because we don't have capacity. And a lot of our project budget is already covered, but Amy and I are hyper-focused on that $200,000 just for construction. Now with our numbers, our bank says we can easily get approved, but our challenge is collateral because Amy's family entrusted us with this farm, and they're only comfortable with us borrowing about $100,000 from the house with collateral against the house. So we're on track for $50,000 more through crowdfunding this year, and that Hayhurst Award would immediately close the gap. It would make it so that I could pick up the bank tomorrow morning and say, let's do this, we're ready to go. I want to leave you with this list of the 2022 James Beard Award nominees. On that list, you'll see lots of well-funded restaurants in big cities, and then you'll see us without funding, without a kitchen to even call our own. Imagine what we can do with resources to grow.
Judges, those 5 minutes begin now.
You make us proud.
Thank you so much.
We should reclaim the narrative, and you're doing a great job of that.
Thank you.
I loved the self-funding and the crowdsourcing, and then you talked about the collateral from the home. How long will it take for you to pay that off at the current revenue projections you have?
Well, with our current revenue without the award, we have a 10-year loan that we've put into our projections, and that's attainable for us. We have extra profit that we could put towards a loan if we wanted to pay it back quicker, and actually that is a strategy for Amy and I, is to pay it back as quickly as possible because we want to invest in other things like lodging at the farm to make those experiences more profitable.
Good job. That was my next question is, so you get done with this phase, what's phase 2, what's phase 3, and then your story reflects a lot of a similar story from a kitchen up in Maine. And so they've kind of diversified their income through other retail opportunities.
Yeah.
And I saw retail on there. What's phase 2, phase 3 for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So retail right now for us is stuff that people buy in person when they come to visit, but long term, we have a vision for retail that can grow infinitely beyond our capacity at the farm. So we're talking about maybe a line of value-added farm products. Our merchandise is rather popular, so those things we can really expand. Right now, it just comes down to capacity and time, and we're not there yet.
Yeah, I was kind of going in that same direction too. Long-term sustainability plan. You know, at some point you're going to want to probably back away and have others take over. What does that look like for you?
Well, I think it is a good question because, you know, Amy and I, we know we're, you know, not going to be there forever, but this business is, you know, it's inspiring to young people, even to our young staff who might one day want to take it over. So one thing that we've really felt lucky and inspired by is that we realized when we launched this business what a need for this there was and how many people were ready to kind of step in and help us take the next step. And maybe they're the ones that sort of take over the Lost Creek Farm at some point too. But investing in staff and really building positions of leadership to keep the dream alive, I think, is our long-term strategy.
So congratulations on bringing back pride in the vernacular foods of Appalachia.
Thank you so much.
What does a year look like for you?
A year?
Yeah.
Well, right now, a year is challenging because we can sort of only focus on the busiest seasons. And then the shorter seasons, we sort of build it out. So our busy season, I should say our prime season for our events runs from May through November. And then those shorter seasons in early spring, in late fall, we do things that don't necessarily depend on the seasonality of ingredients, things like workshops. We do a lot of consulting, sort of like some virtual teaching, that sort of stuff. But with this facility and being able to expand our dining capacity, we'll expand our year-round capacity, because right now we have to turn down a lot of, like, say, holiday events and those sort of things that people want us to do.
Would you remind me how much capacity are you planning to add, and
So
what
we're
would
gonna-
that turn into in terms of
Yeah, so
funding?
we're going to double our capacity almost. So right now we have about 20 to 24 seats. The new facility will add so we can seat at least 40 a night. And our inputs as a food business in terms of staff and ingredients, they reduce rather quickly when you're talking about jumping from 20 to 40 people. You know, we can make those events a lot more profitable, and especially because we'll be able to do things like sell alcohol, which we can't do right now. Alcohol is exponentially more profitable than food sales alone.
You mentioned educational courses. Are you talking about food prep, or can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as leaders in Appalachian food, we have been sought out. We're doing a couple traveling workshops this year. People want to come to the farm, and we make quite a bit of money doing workshops, multi-day workshops. So in Lewisburg, for instance, in a couple weeks, we're going down and doing a sausage making workshop. But we want our vision for workshops at the farm. This is a good shoulder season cash flow opportunity, where we can make it an immersive whole farm, on-farm experience, where you see all the aspects that go into making Appalachian food and what it means to live off the land and embody the food of place, everything from growing food to preparing it to preserving it long term.
Your forecast includes a lot of unrealized demand where you just can't handle the capacity. What's the biggest leap of faith assumption that's in your forecast that you don't have as much confidence in?
That we don't have as much confidence.
You're spared.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much.
Sorry.
All right, I'm
Oop.
You all did amazing. That was really fun to listen to, all of you. Okay. I'm Liz Simons. I'm the founder and director at Mountainside ABA. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking about a type of therapy for children with autism in West Virginia that is changing lives. So applied behavior analysis therapy, ABA therapy, it's evidence-based, it's covered by health insurance companies nationwide, but importantly, it's meaningful and it's fun for the kids that we're working with. It's a treatment for autism. So the need is there in our state. There are about 10,000 children with autism in West Virginia. Of that 10,000, over half have Medicaid, so 5,000 to 7,500 have Medicaid. 4% of these 10,000 are getting ABA services. Less than 1% of the kids with Medicaid are getting ABA services. Our wait lists, all the ABA providers are all over a year. So Medicaid. Mountainside was the first provider to become in network with West Virginia Medicaid, which meant we were teaching them, this is how you process the billing, this is what the codes mean, all of that sort of thing. We're still the leader in ABA that's funded by Medicaid in our state. We have other funders. We have about 15 funders in our company, but most of our clients are funded by Medicaid. Oops, sorry. So we've had significant growth with our clients, our client hours, our employees, our revenue. This is what it's about. So this is Isaiah. He was our first client in the Elkins area to participate in ABA services, and this is his mom, Erin. So Erin called and was like, I want Isaiah in this because the other child there, Noah, also has autism, Isaiah's older brother, and they wanted ABA, and it did not exist in our area. They could not access it. So now Isaiah has great conversational skills and meaningful hobbies and great friendships and really awesome coping and social emotional skills. Erin, when I met her, was in an online program pursuing this as her career with no job opportunities. So she's now our regional supervisor for Elkins, and I love this. 2 of her employees are first-generation college grads while working full-time with us, went right back into grad school, and they're gonna be board certified in the next few months. We have been successful because we have a different model that we've created for ABA services. So we have 5 regions of our company. Each region has about 10 employees. Those small teams have a really nice, tight-knit feel. When we are thinking about changes, we make those based on analyses of our wait lists, of our client needs, of our employees' needs, and that tells us what and how and when to change. We've focused on center-based services for our clients. It really matches the schedules and makes this doable. And even though it feels like this nice, tight-knit team of 10, it's backed by the leadership and administrative support of a 47-person company. The future is clearly in Medicaid. Most kids with autism in our state have Medicaid, and Mountainside's already the leader in that. So with funding from the Hayhurst family, we would achieve a significant 12-month acceleration, the primary result of which would be a workforce expansion. We could add in 24 additional full-time jobs. So things like, so in order to serve more clients, we need more employees. Things like Indeed don't cut it in our rural regions. We've tried and analyzed, doesn't work. Word of mouth does. It's not robust enough for 24 people in a year. We would achieve that through this. So we would develop key community partnerships. We need to be accessing potential employees prior to the applying and hiring process starting. So we need to be creating internship sequences, volunteer opportunities, referral systems with mutually beneficial partners. And then that also leads to this increased community outreach. So hosting, promoting, attending local events. Both of those initiatives try to increase recognition and visibility of Mountainside for the families that don't know to ask for this, or the employees that don't know that this is a great career option for them. So those 2 initiatives would utilize 75% of the funding from the Hayhurst family. And then the remaining funding would go towards, we have an amazing team. And so taking our senior employees, sending them out to get these great specialty trainings, then bringing that expertise back in-house. So it enhances client services. And then as Mountainside, so because we've forged this path with Medicaid, other large conglomerates will start moving into our state, right? In the next few years, it's a smoother path. We'll stand out because we offer specialty areas and we'll retain our really talented senior staff. So our need is there. Our business model has been innovative and successful for 7 years. Our funding is solid, but with funding one time from the Hayhurst family, we could really boost this effort for workforce expansion that then immediately serves a larger part of our community, and then we can maintain that for the long term. Thank you.
Judges, your 5 minutes begins now. All right, well, wasn't ready this time. So thank you. Very important work that you do for the youth and the future of our state, and also for the people who are indirectly and directly affected and benefiting from this. I'm still not quite clear of what you're doing with 75% of the funding if you were to get it, because you're talking about job expansion, right? Adding about 21 jobs,
Yes.
but this is not to pay for the salaries.
No.
So tell me, tell me more, because I don't think I got it.
Yes. So in order to be doing these things, creating community partnerships and doing outreach, that is taking employees who are they're not doing billable service with our client, right? So that's taking an employee and they're reaching out to a community partner to establish that internship sequence. They're reaching out to someone else to host an event that's upcoming. So all of those efforts that they're putting in to do those events, it's basically 2 people's full-time job for a year to put in all of that legwork. We might talk to 80 different community partners to end up with 15, right? Or we might attend 20 different events to find that really 5 of them were incredibly beneficial that we should be replicating. So it's paying 2 employees for a year to put in a lot of time and energy to be focusing on this larger, getting ahead of potential employees.
Okay, so their time and travel, I
Yes,
suppose.
their time and travel, and then also for events, looking at materials, so if you're signing up for a job fair, having the materials that you need for that. But primarily, it would be paying for 2 employees' time for the next year. But then after that, we don't need to talk to 80 people to have 20 key community partners. We'd be able to maintain it easily within our systems, and in creating more job opportunities, there's no problem in continuing to have those employees.
Thank you.
Yes, I hope that answered it.
So the 2 people who are going to go out and create these relationships, by the way, good job, is that where you're going to pull the 21 new FTEs? Because those are the relationships that you're building to say these are the opportunities like Aaron that they may not know about.
Exactly. So the jobs that we would be creating, they already exist within our company in terms of it's taking 3 of our regions and doubling those regions.
Okay.
So these are behavior technician jobs. We already employ 40 behavior technicians within our 35 behavior technicians in our company. So we know how to train someone in that position. We just need the people to get into those positions, and then we can increase our client services. Yes.
So they could bill for services.
Exactly, yes. And then when you have a higher revenue, as you know, then you can turn it back into your company. So what we've been able to offer our employees is amazing in the last few years. I mean, health insurance, paid time off, competitive salaries, and it's providing these professional career options within our state that are long-term career options. The larger the revenue, the more we can pour that back into our employees, which means we can serve more of our clients.
Anyway, there we go. Okay. So after the $100,000 investment in your new employees, what happens next? How do you pay all these new people?
Yes. So when we provide services, we bill to health insurance companies. And when we do that, we have a contract with each health insurance company. Like I said, most of our funding ends up coming from West Virginia Medicaid. And so just like if you go get an x-ray, right, your doctor then bills the health insurance for that service and they pay the doctor. Same exact idea. And so I'm so proud of her. We have someone who grew in-house to being a billing specialist. She is now the expert ABA biller for Medicaid in West Virginia. So from the time that we provide services to a client, bill to health insurance, and then see that money come back in, it's typically about 30 to 60 days, which is super normal for health insurance funded companies. Yeah, so that's how we pay for the positions, is by billing health insurance for the clients' first services.
Awesome job. Love the problem you're tackling. So important. Quick question. You mentioned that eventually large-scale players will move into the market. You feel like you'll be differentiated.
Yeah.
Which of those players do you most admire, and what do they do well that you say, I wish we could get to that point?
Yes. So often it's viewed as this negative thing that these really large firms are coming in and they're maybe not offering the really high quality service that Mountainside is already offering. There's one great company that we've seen that's done really wonderful ABA work, and they've purchased some ABA companies or gone in and recruited some ABA companies in Virginia. So they're Acorn Health. We look at some of what they've done and said, how can we replicate that on a small scale where we're still investing right back in our community? And this is a West Virginia, we're focusing on our local community and building our employees.
Good for you. It is always great to look at what someone else has achieved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final business for this evening is YNST.
have to wait for the timer. So here's the question. What if the next Picasso or Versace or David Bowie was in your own backyard, but no one was around to see them, or support them, or employ them, or help them grow? Well, that's exactly what is happening in Appalachia. As artists, my team and I saw firsthand that incredible creatives like these were not getting the recognition they deserved, the resources they needed, and were not being seen. So, together, we formed You're Not Seeing Things, or YNST, a grassroots media outlet for amplifying Appalachia's unseen and unsung arts and culture. There are 3 key problems that we knew we had to address. The first is the media gap. There is a clear lack of regional storytelling dedicated to arts and culture. And the stories being told about our region on the national level, you and I both know, are often stereotypical, negative, or one-dimensional. The second is the lack of connection between Appalachia's creative culture stakeholders. There is a disconnect in this arts ecosystem that desperately needs a unifier to bridge together. And the third is the limited potential to grow as a creative in Appalachia. Making a career in the arts is already a challenge, but geographic isolation, limited market access, and lack of resources makes it that much harder. So our multi-channel and multimedia approach addresses all 3 problems. Through our print magazine, our digital publication, our social media, our merchandise, our in-person events, and our expansion plans, we work together to form the solution. We, like Lost Creek Farm, are reshaping the narrative. We are creating timely and valuable storytelling that inspires tourism and benefits residents. We are connecting the arts ecosystem together so that each can mutually benefit, grow, and support one another financially, giving these Appalachian creatives opportunities, connections, professional development, and employment. The print magazine has been sold in over 55 retailers all across the region, including 4 right here in Huntington and every Stone Tower Brews location, shout out. The print medium allows our specialized mission to be a lasting, living testimony to the creative community here. Each issue a snapshot in time that celebrates the best of our home. Now, before you ask what I know you're all thinking, wait, I thought print's dead, I'm here to tell you it's not. It's just changing. And magazine media companies across the globe are thriving by diversifying their business model. And we can best serve our customers by following in their path. So that's why we have invested in our online presence, generating well over 500,000 impressions on social media and thousands of monthly digital readers. We sell merchandise, we offer marketing consulting, and we continue to collaborate on in-person events, curating galleries like the show we have opening in Wheeling next month. We are here today because we are primed to accelerate that experience and impact the entire arts ecosystem by continuing to diversify our business model. For the last year, we have been developing a traveling retail pop-up shop and an e-commerce marketplace so that Appalachian artists can now sell their work through us. This is our big step forward, going from visibility to these lucrative financial opportunities. And with your support, we have the opportunity to pilot this pop-up shop in the most highly foot-trafficked and largest arts market in the world, New York City. We caught the eye of a nonprofit that specializes in these pop-up shops and have the opportunity to acquire a storefront space in the city for no monthly rent. This, along with the online marketplace, will give exponentially more reach to these Appalachian artists so that they can break into these multi-billion-dollar markets without ever having to leave home, and serve as a living, breathing tourism pop-up for pro-West Virginia, all the while driving exponentially more sales, commission, and funding back into YNST. Funding from the Hayhurst Invitational will support the infrastructure for this repeatable traveling pop-up shop experience and the e-commerce digital marketplace, as well as be able to sustain our business model moving forward by having the bolstering of these new business models, while also giving access for these Appalachian artists to these markets and creating exponentially more growth for the arts ecosystem. Because it is more than a magazine, it's a movement. Thank you very much.
Judges, those last 5 minutes, they begin now.
Can you provide some insight into your current revenue, your sales, and then your profit?
Sure. So our current revenue model relies heavily on advertising dollars, both in print and in digital, as well as subscriptions and print sales. We have been steadily growing. I recognize that we are perhaps the greenest business here today, but we have supported our magazine by acquiring $20,000 in startup funding last year, and then $30,000 in sales from advertising and print and subscription revenue in half a year of doing sales.
So you talk about, good job, by the way.
Thank you.
Talking about your traveling pop-up. So NYC's #1 location, how long do you plan to be there? What's your next pop-up location? And is there any thought on a permanent location or locations?
Sure. So we're starting in New York because we have the opportunity to acquire the storefront space for no monthly cost, but the plan is for that not to be the final destination, of course. We have the opportunity to have a flexible lease, so it can be 6 months, it can be up to 3 years. We've seen success from other pop-ups through this nonprofit that have stayed in New York City for up to 4 years. But for us, we want this to be a traveling experience. So the next hub that we go to could be DC, could be Chicago. But I think the goal in the long term is to have a sustainable retail space that is permanent in one of the Appalachian hubs, such as Pittsburgh or Asheville, or bring it back into West Virginia in Huntington or Charleston or Wheeling or Morgantown.
Great job.
Thank you.
Really good. And I'm very happy that you're trying to celebrate the work of others through your business. So tell me about what the others think about this model. Have you engaged the clientele, the audience that you cater to in this idea, and how do they feel about it?
I would say the most rewarding part about the work that we're doing so far is hearing the feedback from the creatives. I mean, we've already seen artwork sold, photographers commissioned, musicians getting discovered because of our media outlet, and just the firsthand one-on-one conversational feedback that we've been receiving has been exponentially positive. I would say when we were printing the first issue of the magazine, the greatest moment so far was going into all the shops and showing these to the small business owners for the first time, like Stone Tower, and the amount that said yes right away because they immediately recognized the importance of the mission, didn't even have to open the magazine, said yes right away, was all the feedback we could ever ask for. But yeah, we've definitely been seeing that tangible feedback with artwork getting sold through our gallery spaces and by being featured in the magazine, as well as that just verbal feedback.
Very well done. Nice presentation. You have, based on kind of what you projected out from the $100,000, you have a lot of different directions you can scale. Right, you could go geographically, you could go content, you could go employees. So talk us through what your vision is for scaling.
Sure. So I think one of the most important things for us right now is employee sustainability. I think we started a company with 6 folks interested in helping at the same time, and we have 1 full-time employee, you're looking at him, and everyone else is part-time and working on passion. So as we scale, and the reason that we want to pursue these lucrative new business model, or scaling models, is because it is going to support our employees and be able to create full-time jobs for all of YNST's employees. So we have our core 6, but we also have 2 interns, we have editors, we have freelance writers, and I think that being able to turn the small amount of funding that everyone is receiving now into lucrative wages is really important to us.
45 seconds for any more questions, if you like.
Last word. I'm good. What's your biggest threat?
Good question. Our biggest threat, I would say, is that, being able to remain sustainable by involving ourselves in all of these different business models. I think is definitely a threat. I think spreading ourselves too thin, whereas we might not be able to dedicate as much time to the magazine or not as much time to the retail channels. But I think given the team that we have and the trajectory that we have, I think that it's okay. Thank you so much.
I want to thank all of our judges. Thank you so much, judges. Huge thank you to all of the businesses. You represent so much of what's great about the state, and you really are helping a lot of young people to see what they could do in the state. And a huge thanks to the Hayhurst family. Without their vision and without their belief of let's go big, we wouldn't be able to do these kind of events. So thank you. Now the winners will be announced tonight at our dinner. For any of you who will not be at the dinner this evening, you will be able to see this on our website, which is launch.wvu.edu, and we'll also be shouting it from the rooftops. So thank you so much.
All right.
By the way, all of you, great job.
Okay, we are going to need everyone to travel to cocktail hour in the lobby, grab a cocktail so that we can get this set for dinner. So we will make an announcement out there when you get back. There's some snacks, some drinks, and then we're going to get this quickly flipped and get ready for our dinner and awards. So thank you.